Today I'm going to show you how to make a nice and fat Supersaw lead inside our project from the last tutorial, from the Clubland bass tutorial. What I did so far is I changed the bass line a little bit to fit a melody that I've written a while ago that we're going to use for our example. So this is what the project sounds at the moment. So same thing as before, just change the MIDI of the bass line a little bit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to load up our melody that is in this empty channel at the moment. And we're going to use silent for the lead. So we're going to replace this with a silent. And if you initialize silent, it sounds like this, which is not useful. So we're gonna load up an insert or like an initialized preset, which sounds like this. So this is the melody that we're going to work with. We're going to start by renaming this thing lead, and we're going to put on an empty mixer track. And what I like to do with lead sounds is I like to start with the processing and then design the lead sound, because in general, like, I'm the kind of person I like to take, or like to create simple sounds inside the VST and then turn them into something bigger with the processing, like outside the VST itself. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put an EQ on here to cut the lows and cut some of the highs, because even if you think you might love highs on like every sound because they make things sound crisp and nice and everything in high quality, the problem is if you write a track and you leave the highs, like all of the highs on every single track, you're gonna end up with a very harsh sounding track because it builds up in the end. So don't just cut your lows, cut your highs as well, at least some of them. For now, just a very basic EQ. We might add that later, but for now. Then we're gonna put on our OTT, the RDT. And now we're gonna add a delay and a reverb. I personally like the isotope dynamic delay. I know this used to be free. I'm not sure if it still is. It is basically a delay plugin that ducks the signal, so like turns down the signal whenever the main sound is playing. So this delay is playing in between our leads. It's just a much cleaner sound and gives the lead more space. You can use like any other delay for that, or put a reverb and a delay on a send channel. I'm gonna talk about that in a different tutorial. For now, we'll keep it on the insert because that's how I normally like to do it at this point of time. So now we're gonna add a reverb. We're gonna go with FabFilter Pro R because it's amazing. And there is a preset that I like to use for Supersaw sounds, which is the large Supersaw Anthem Hall B. Because it sounds beautiful. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put another multiband compressor on, and this is probably my second favorite plugin of all time. It's the VMS multiband compressor. We're gonna use a preset which is pretty much called A Good Place to Start, and that's exactly what it is. We're gonna mute the low end and play around with the bands. For now. the reason why we do this, why we like use another multiband compressor after the reverb and the delay, there's two reasons for that. First of all, I really like multiband compression, and secondly, what we're going to do is we're going to compress the signals together. So essentially, it does something similar to the to what the dynamic delay does. So when our main signal, so like the lead melody is playing, or the lead sound is playing, the reverb and the delay get ducked down, and when there's like a breathing moment between the sounds, the reverb gets actually attenuated. So this is what we got at the sound for the sound at the moment. And now we're going to start to actually design the main sound. So what we're going to do is we're going to deactivate the retrigger. This is pretty much what I showed in the bass tutorial as reset via gate. So make sure the sound starts at the same phase every time. We don't want that for lead sounds, like at least not for Supersaws. We're going to increase the voices, and we're going to turn it up to 8. Turn the voices to 8 in the detune up. And we're going to do the same thing on the second oscillator. Also choose a saw wave first. And put an octave higher. And just turn on the volume a bit, because we perceive higher frequencies louder than low ones. And we're gonna go into part B of the oscillator and do essentially the same thing, just with like a little bit variation in the detune and in the volume. And now what we're going to do is we're going to give this thing some automation, some LFO action. We're going to give it some more grit, some more crispiness, and some more, yeah, I'd say some more energy by putting in LFO on the pitch. There's two ways we could do this. We could either use the pitch or the phase, same effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the right up relatively high, so like to like 1/256 as dotted. Let's try it like this. And we're going to turn the gain up for now. I'm going to turn that down in a second. And we're going to increase the amount. Just very slightly. As you can hear, what it does is it gives it more grit by pretty much using a very fast LFO, like automating the pitch very fast. Like if you listen to this a lot slower, you can see it's modulating the pitch, and oops, wrong button. And if we turn the rate up again, like this, we'll give it like a lot more grit. It gives it more of the like analog kind of sound. Like we've got this kind of sound if we use a Virus TI, for example. I think it reminds me more like in a JP88 as well, which is like more of the sound that like I love about those kind of tracks, like the Clubland style, or like even older tracks like River Baby stuff and everything. So now we're gonna put this together with the rest of the track, and we're gonna level this out and see how it sounds. So this is what we got for now. One little bonus tip, if you want to use this one in a build-up, for example, you can turn this lead into a plug. I'm going to show you how. What we're going to do is we're going to put the filters to a low-pass filter, both of them, and we're going to add a cutoff envelope and turn down the sustain and turn up the decay. And turn the amount up, of course. And now if we move the cutoff, and give it some release. Give it some release on the main sound. So that's how you would use it if you would want to use this sound in a build-up, for example, or in general, if you like plucky sounds for whatever part of the track. Quick tip, the release is what I put up on all of these sounds, because otherwise if you don't do that, you'll get these clicky kind of sounds at the end of the notes. Especially if you use the plugs, or like not use the full sounds, which is very annoying. So let me show you what I mean. You might be able to hear them at the end of the note. So that's why I'll give it like a little bit of release, just a tiny little bit, so we don't have to hear that. So that's that for now. We're gonna add some chords in the next tutorial, so it's gonna sound a little bit more full. But for now, let me know if you have any questions for this, or like if you have any other sounds that you want to learn about, and see you next time.